Have you ever felt like you're trapped inside a dark room? Even though the door is wide open? People around you keep saying, just step out, there's light, there's freedom, yet your feet feel glued to the floor. The darkness isn't only around you, it seeps inside you. Into every thought, every heartbeat, every breath. That's what depression feels like. Let's look at this through the eyes of a clinical psychiatrist with over 25 years of experience treating mood disorders. Imagine me stepping into the role of Dr. David Carter. Not to give you a dry lecture, but to walk with you on a journey, one that we'll take together. Here's something important to make clear right away. Depression isn't just sadness or weakness. It's not just about having a few off days or feeling tired. Depression is a real medical condition, rooted in the brain, in neurotransmitters, in genetics, and in the way we experience life. In other words, it's a complex interplay of biology, psychology, and social factors. And it's this complexity that makes so many people feel trapped in a vicious cycle, the more they try to escape, the deeper they sink. I remember a patient, let's call her Emily, who once said to me, "Doctor, I know logically that I need to get out of bed, go to work, talk to my friends, but it feels like there's an invisible chain pulling me down. I know I'm hurting myself, but I don't have the strength to change." Emily's story isn't rare. In fact, it reflects one of the cruelest mechanisms of depression. It makes you feel powerless. And that very sense of helplessness only makes the illness worse. The pain isn't just in the sadness, it's in losing the belief that you can ever escape. If you've ever been there, or had someone you love go through it, you'll understand why I call depression a trap. The trap lies in the fact that your brain, the very organ meant to help you think, solve, and decide, is the one that's tied up. It's like being asked to pull yourself out of a pit with your own bare hands, an impossible task when you're already exhausted. Over the years, I've noticed 3 common misconceptions that make depression even more frightening. First, many believe depression is simply a sign of being mentally weak. This idea forces people not only to battle the illness itself but also to carry shame, guilt, and self-blame. Second, society often assumes you can just try harder and get better. That's like telling someone with a broken leg, just run faster. We forget that healing requires time, care, and a real process of recovery. Third, many people struggling with depression believe they don't deserve help. They feel their pain is a burden to others. This false belief pushes them into silence, withdrawal, and the darkest kind of loneliness. You see, the vicious cycle of depression doesn't only live in the brain, it's fed by stigma, misunderstanding, and the stories society keeps repeating. To break it, we need more than medicine or therapy. We need to change the way we see it, the way we talk about it, the way we understand it. Imagine standing in that dark room. Then someone comes, reaches out, and says, "It's okay, I'm here with you. Let's step out together." Suddenly, the light doesn't feel so far away. That's the beginning of healing. In this opening, I want you to remember one thing. Depression does not define you. It's part of your story, but it's not the whole of who you are. Maybe today you feel weak, but that doesn't mean you can't be strong again. Maybe today you feel hopeless, but that doesn't mean hope is gone. In the next chapters, we'll go deeper. Why depression feels like a trap. The 3 cognitive biases that make it harder to escape. The latest scientific research, and real stories from patients, so you know you are not alone. And finally, we'll explore the small daily habits and practices that can become the keys to unlock the door out of that vicious cycle. But for now, take a deep breath, allow yourself to believe. No matter how hard this journey feels, you can still take one small step forward, and I'll walk with you along the way. When our minds become unstable, we often ask, why does depression feel like a trap? Let's search for that answer together. Depression isn't just a fleeting sadness. It's like an invisible snare where every thought, every action, even every breath feels controlled. Those caught in it cannot just get out by hearing advice like, think positive, or cheer up. The trap is built from the complex interaction of the brain, hormones, memories, and the way we perceive the world. This complexity creates a closed loop where the harder you struggle, the tighter the grip becomes. Scientific research shows that when someone falls into depression, the structure and function of the brain change significantly. The amygdala becomes hyperactive, constantly sending signals of threat and negativity. The hippocampus, which governs memory and emotion, gradually shrinks if the condition persists. Meanwhile, the prefrontal cortex, the area that allows rational analysis, functions less effectively. As a result, negative emotions are magnified while the ability to regulate them or see situations in a balanced way is weakened. This is the neurological mechanism of the trap. Many patients describe the feeling as being trapped inside their own minds. Some say that even though they understand the theory of positive thinking, they simply can't apply it, as if an invisible glass wall blocks them. Neuroscience explains this through the default mode network, a system that becomes overactive when the mind wanders. In depressed individuals, this network is especially noisy, replaying painful memories, past mistakes, and bleak visions of the future. This malfunction keeps them imprisoned in repetitive thought loops. Hormones play a role too. Levels of serotonin, dopamine, and norepinephrine often drop sharply in depression. It's as if the brain's reward system switches off, erasing joy, motivation, and interest. People may still engage in activities they once loved, listening to music, meeting friends, but feel nothing. This emotional disconnection makes life seem meaningless, reinforcing the trap. Research at Stanford University found that when depressed patients attempt cognitive tasks, their brains must work nearly twice as hard to reach the same level of focus as healthy individuals. This explains why advice like, just get up, or go exercise, feels overwhelming. It's not laziness or lack of willpower. The trap has tightened so much that even the smallest actions demand immense effort. Another terrifying element is isolation. Depression convinces sufferers that they are burdens to others. With this belief, they withdraw from friends and family. Loneliness, in turn, worsens the depression, creating yet another vicious circle. A global WHO survey revealed that over 60% of people with severe depression avoid telling loved ones about their condition out of fear of judgment. This silence deepens the darkness, because no one steps in to help them out. Picture someone trapped in a dark room. The door is locked, and every attempt to find a way out makes the room feel smaller. That's depression. The harder you push, the more powerless you feel. But this trap isn't permanent. Neuroscience has shown that the brain has neuroplasticity, the ability to rewire itself. With therapy, proper support, and small but steady steps, new pathways can form, slowly dismantling the trap. Depression's trap is real, but not unbeatable. The solution isn't in forcing yourself to be happy, but in understanding how the trap works and then learning how to loosen its grip. Once people realize they are not weak or useless but simply caught in a biological system, they can begin their healing journey. And that realization is the very first step toward breaking the cycle. When people think of depression, they often picture sadness, exhaustion, or hopelessness. But beneath those feelings lies something deeper, distorted patterns of thinking that repeat endlessly, keeping sufferers stuck in the cycle. Psychologists call these cognitive biases, ways the brain processes information in a warped manner, leading us to see ourselves, the world, and the future through a darkened lens. 3 biases show up most often in depression: all or nothing thinking, overgeneralization, and negative filtering. The first bias, all or nothing thinking, makes life appear in only black and white, with no shades of gray. A student who earns a B instead of an A may instantly feel like a failure. An employee who misses one monthly target might believe they're useless and doomed to never succeed. This mindset turns small mistakes into proof of total inadequacy. In reality, life is full of nuance. Success and failure are never defined by a single moment. Studies in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, show that helping patients identify and challenge this rigid style of thinking can significantly ease depressive symptoms by opening up more flexible perspectives. The second bias, overgeneralization, is like taking one drop of water and assuming it represents the entire ocean. Someone rejected in love may conclude, "I'll never be loved by anyone." A failed job interview might spiral into, "I'll never find a good job in my life." In depression, the brain tends to store negative experiences more vividly and turn them into rules for the future. Stanford research found that under depression, the amygdala reacts more strongly to negative memories while the hippocampus, responsible for memory processing, loses volume. This explains why depressed people recall failures more easily than successes. The hopeful part is that science also shows these thought patterns can be retrained through cognitive practice and therapeutic support. The third bias, negative filtering, works like wearing glasses that only let you see flaws while blocking out everything good. A depressed person might receive 10 compliments but obsess over a single criticism. A caring mother who forgets to cook one dinner might feel like a terrible mom. Research by Aaron Beck, the father of cognitive therapy, revealed that such mental filters reinforce distorted self-beliefs and deepen depression's spiral. That's why therapy often focuses on helping patients notice and record positive signals, whether a small success or a moment of warmth, so the bigger picture of life becomes more balanced. What makes these biases especially destructive is how they don't exist in isolation. They team up to lock a person's thinking. A small failure, like burning dinner, can trigger a chain reaction. I mess up everything, overgeneralization. If I'm not perfect, I'm worthless, all or nothing thinking. And everyone must see me as incompetent, negative filtering. This cascade leaves the person drowning in self-blame and helplessness, unable to trust in anything positive. But there is hope. Neuroscience has proven that the brain can change through neuroplasticity. MRI studies show that after cognitive therapy or mindfulness training, depressed patients develop new neural connections that allow them to process information in more balanced ways. This means cognitive biases aren't permanent traits but habits of the brain that can be reshaped. And to see this more clearly, we'll explore scientific research alongside real patient stories, living proof that changing how we think can break depression's vicious cycle. Depression has long been recognized not just as an emotional struggle, but as a medical condition clearly demonstrated by scientific research. Scientists have observed real changes in the brains of people with depression. For example, MRI scans reveal that activity in the amygdala, the brain's emotion processing center, is often heightened, while the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for logic and decision-making, tends to be underactive. This helps explain why people with depression easily spiral into negative thought loops and struggle to rein in pessimistic thinking. One landmark study from Stanford University showed that levels of serotonin and dopamine, the neurotransmitters tied to happiness and motivation, are often significantly reduced in patients with depression. This is why so many people describe feeling empty, drained, and uninterested in activities that once brought joy. Science has made it clear. Depression is not a weakness of willpower, but a genuine biological imbalance in the brain. Yet beyond the data, it's the patient stories that truly move us. I think of James, a man in his 40s who had once been a brilliant engineer. When he first came to see me, he was utterly depleted, sleepless nights, no interest in his work, and frequent thoughts that his life had lost all meaning. For months, James believed he was useless and that any effort was pointless. But once he learned that his brain was distorting how he saw reality, he began to understand those thoughts weren't absolute truth. With a combination of medication, cognitive behavioral therapy, and regular exercise, James slowly regained balance. A year later, he returned to my office smiling, telling me that for the first time in years, he was genuinely looking forward to tomorrow. James's story is not unique. A large study by the World Health Organization found that over 70% of depression patients show marked improvement when treatment combines medication, psychotherapy, and healthy lifestyle changes. This sends a powerful message: depression can be managed, and a brighter life can return. I also think of Linda, a woman in her 60s who felt her life had become meaningless after losing her husband. Each morning she woke up without a reason to get out of bed. But through therapy, Linda learned to reconnect with her community, joined a support group for those who had lost loved ones, and began writing cherished memories in a small journal. She told me, "I haven't forgotten the pain, but I've learned to live with it without letting it consume me." Science calls this resilience, the capacity to recover emotionally, and Linda embodies it fully. Research also shows that telling one's story, through journaling, sharing in groups, or speaking with a therapist, helps the brain reframe painful memories. By turning emotions into words, patients create a healthier distance from their pain, making it less overwhelming. This is why many therapy programs encourage patients to write or speak about their thoughts instead of locking them away inside. As science demonstrates, depression is shaped by biological, psychological, and social factors. There is no single cause, and no single cure, but a combination of treatment, therapy, lifestyle changes, and, most importantly, compassion from others has proven to be powerfully effective. Every study, every patient story, carries the same message: depression is treatable, and hope is always present, even in life's darkest hours. Escaping the spiral of depression takes more than theory alone. Real change comes from what we do each day, no matter how small, at the start of your morning. Instead of rushing out of bed and diving straight into stress, give yourself a pause. Simply sit, take a few deep breaths, loosen your shoulders, and remind yourself that today is a new opportunity. This tiny ritual is like planting a seed of calm, and over time you'll feel its quiet strength grow. Next, listen to your body. Movement doesn't have to mean running a marathon or lifting heavy weights. It can be as simple as stepping outside for a slow walk, feeling the breeze on your skin, or watching sunlight filter gently through the trees. Our bodies are made to move, and every step is a message to the brain: I am alive. I am moving forward. The remarkable thing is, as your body shifts, your dark thoughts often begin to shift too. Alongside movement, nutrition is another vital doorway. Instead of turning to sweets or fast food to numb your feelings, try meals rich in vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and fish. Science shows that a balanced diet can help the brain release more serotonin, the happiness hormone our bodies naturally need. When you nourish your body with healthy food, you are also quietly healing your mind. Sleep cannot be overlooked. Many people with depression struggle with either insomnia or oversleeping. To bring balance, create a small bedtime ritual: reading a few pages, listening to gentle music, or turning off your phone screen. Your body needs clear signals that it's time to rest. In deep sleep, the brain repairs itself, and emotions naturally become steadier the next day. Another powerful tool is journaling. Writing isn't about producing beautiful pages, it's about unloading the weight from your mind. Each line you write is a release, taking sadness out of your head and placing it onto paper. And when you look back, you may realize that what once felt overwhelming is smaller than you imagined. Equally important is staying connected. Depression makes people withdraw, but isolation only deepens the darkness. Give yourself the chance to open up to at least one trusted person: a friend, a family member, or a support group. Honest conversations, a warm hug, or even sitting quietly together can be medicine that no formula can fully capture. Finally, practice gratitude. It may sound simple, but writing down just a few things you're thankful for, a beam of morning sunlight, a stranger's smile, or a warm cup of tea, trains your brain to notice the positive instead of sinking into gloom. Gratitude becomes the bridge that helps you step from shadow into light. These practices and habits are not magic spells that erase depression overnight, but they are like small bricks, building day by day a solid foundation for life. And with persistence, you'll find that you are not only surviving sadness, but learning to live more fully, more meaningfully. Depression can feel like a dark room where you're trapped, but the door has never disappeared. It only needs to be opened with small steps. Every healthy habit, every moment you choose to share, every time you reach out for support, all of these are keys that allow the light to slowly return. You are not alone. Millions of people have walked through this darkness and found themselves again. And so can you. Hope is not something distant. It is alive in the very actions you're taking right now: listening, learning, and choosing to change. If this video resonates with you, hit like to help spread this positive message. Leave a comment. Your story or thoughts may inspire and encourage someone else. And don't forget to subscribe so we can continue this journey together toward healing and healthier living. You deserve happiness, and I truly believe you can find it.